All right. Um, if you desire to have a garden and some thoughts on creating that space, part two. Now, right behind me, well, right beside me is our chicken tractor, and behind me is where we plan on adding garden space. So, what you see back there is a bunch of grass clippings. So, if you want to make a garden in the spring and plant in the spring, there's a certain amount of urgency because you need to get stuff in the ground. But if you start thinking about where you want your garden now for the spring, there's not the same level of urgency to get everything prepped. It can be slower. It can be working more with nature. Now, how you do it's going to depend on the resources you have available. We have our chickens. This is a 8x8x4 box basically on a wheel that we move throughout our entire backyard. We move them 2 or 3 times typically to keep the manure load very spread out, to keep them from really tearing up the grass, and just giving them constant fresh grazing. Right now, we're making them kind of work for us where we're only moving them once a day. So that's making the manure load bigger in one space, and then they are digging it up more, which is what we want because we want to convert this grass to garden beds for the spring. So this can be done very slowly, and in small steps that aren't overwhelming. Now we're using the chickens. We're putting more organic material here. Anything I get that is done in the garden, I'm bringing out and giving to the chickens. And then whatever they don't eat is getting mowed and dumped back on the space for some organic material on top, and also to start kind of shading out the grass that's growing. If I didn't have chickens, I'd kind of be doing the same thing. I would just trying to be putting organic material on top of the soil and shading out the grass and starting to kill that off. So that you can do with mulch. You could do it with cardboard. Do your own research on that. There's some that don't like using cardboard because of the adhesive that's in it. Do your own research in terms of your comfort level with that. We're actually going to use our bags that we get our chicken feed in are compostable, so we've got a ton of those. We're going to take those apart, open them up, and do layers of that brown paper over this space once we've had the chickens on it for a while. So, you know, brown paper, like I've said in the last video, that comes in your Amazon boxes. Do your own research as if you're comfortable using cardboard. You can use tarps, you can use silage tarps. I know some people will get, I don't know how to do this, but you get the old billboard tarps that were used for advertising that are done. I think that's pretty cheap or free if you can go pick them up, something like that. So just get that covered so the grass is dying off. Get some organic material, leaves, grass, something mulched over top, and just let it do what it's supposed to do. Let the worms work, let the grass die off, and then in the spring you don't have that urgency of, oh, I have to get the garden prepped and plant. You can just plant. So that's part 2. Thank you for joining us with chickens talking to us in the background. We'll see you in the next video.